And this is Texas Game Day. So Marquise Goodwin, a guy that is a track star, but also one of the stars of the wide receiver core here. He hasn't had a lot of time to get ready. So what is going to be the adjustment? We know he's in world-class athlete shape. But what kind of change is it getting into world-class football player kind of shape?
Well, Lowell, we had guys at Florida State who ran track and then came out for the football team. And for them, a lot of it wasn't the conditioning. It was the footwork. It was really getting those choppy steps down as a receiver, getting off the jam, getting into the secondary. It wasn't so much their speed or conditioning. It was really all of their feet. And that's, I think, will be the biggest adjustment for Goodwin, getting back into that. If you watch the Holiday Bowl early in the game, his feet weren't quite there. He was slipping a lot. But as the game went on, he was beating coverage. He was getting by Mark Anthony. And if David Ash put it out there, he probably would have had a few more touchdowns. So for him, I think it's going to be 2-a-day workouts when he gets back. A workout in the morning, workout in the afternoon, really getting his routes down, getting his feet under him, and maybe a little conditioning. Because obviously he gets a break in track. In football, it is a little bit different. You've got to go play after play, get in the huddle, and then get right back on the field. But for him, I think it's going to be getting on the same page with his quarterbacks, getting back in the system, and getting out of that track mentality back into the football mentality and getting those real choppy feet under him, because it is different, the footwork from track to the football field.
And really went through the same thing last year coming off the World Championships, and it was slow, no catches in the first 5 games.
Yes.
Then really broke out the end of the season, and everybody knows they need him. When they talk about the vertical passing game, they need to find something there, and he has been that guy for Texas. But you mentioned you played with guys that were track stars, and they weren't there, like Marquise was not there for the spring and in the offseason. So as a quarterback, how does that affect the rapport that you have with a receiver, the timing that's so critical for a quarterback and a wide receiver?
Well, I think if it's a new guy coming in who hasn't been through spring football, hasn't been through those voluntary workouts in the summer, the 7-on-7, it's a little bit different. Goodwin's been around the program. We saw him in the Holiday Bowl. He's not the biggest guy, so that's why he needs to have great footwork to get off those jams, to make those moves and get by the corners like we saw last season. So there's some guys who are track guys and they try to be football players. I don't quite see Goodwin as it. I see him as a guy who can be a very high-quality football player, as we've already seen from him. He just happens to be a world-class athlete. But I think he does have the pedigree to be a high-level wide receiver. You wish he was a few inches taller, but I definitely think his speed makes up for that.
High expectations, once again, but you're losing really the heart of the middle of the defense. And we'll always talk about you want to build a defense inside out. But let's go outside first, because you got Jeff Coat, Okafor, very good cornerbacks. What are the advantages of being strong on the outside defensively?
Well, as a quarterback and as an offensive guy, I know that one of the biggest things that can ruin your game plan is a rush off the edge. So if you have strong defensive ends coming off, that's going to force you to get rid of the ball quicker, not want to take that sack, and it's just going to get you out of your rhythm. So when you have that pressure coming off the edge, not only does it shut off the running game, but it puts a lot of pressure on you as a quarterback to get it out to your hots or to just tuck it and run. When you have great corners on the outside, every time you see those sacks, it's not always the defensive lineman. What do they call those? Coverage sacks, because of how good the coverage is back in the secondary. So do I want to have strong linebackers? Of course. Do I want to have a great safety like Gideon back there? Yes. But if I have to pick some strengths on the defensive side of the ball, it's going to be the rush coming off the edge, and it's going to be those cover corners. Because when they're on those islands and guys like Gideon, the safeties can't get over, it's all them. So I think that's going to be the strength of this team this year. And Carrington Bynum, Coach Mack Brown said this year at Media Day, this guy is going to be one of the best defensive backs in the country.